Bulavinaka, good evening and namaste. I'm Vijay Narayan. This is Fiji-Village Straight Talk. Tonight, we are at the residence of the Australian High Commissioner. Mr. Peter Roberts, thank you very much for welcoming us to your beautiful home for this special show.
Thank you. It's great to have you here.
Now, High Commissioner, you took up the position coming from Tokyo just early last year, and before that in Timor-Leste. Can you tell us what has surprised you most about Fiji and how it has shaped your job here so far?
Well, a couple of things have surprised me. First, you say in Australia you're going to Fiji and everybody thinks, you're going off to have a holiday. But I've been shocked at how busy we are here. Fiji and Australia, there's an awful lot going on, be it in the business world, be it in the sporting world, be it in government. So here I am in beautiful Fiji, but I've never worked harder in my life. That's probably a good thing. And I think the other thing is, even though it's a bit chilly in Suva right now, is the warmth of the welcome we've had. I'm here with my family, with my wife and two boys. And, we've just had a wonderful integration into Fijian society. People I work with, but people that we're friends with as well. It's been a really warm welcome. And in terms of working, that means, I feel as an Australian High Commissioner here, we can just work with people, we get along with each other, we can be honest with each other, and we can work well together.
Now, Australia calls itself Fiji's largest trade partner. Fiji recognizes that. We have a majority of our tourists coming from Australia. And a lot of our families, we have family connections in Australia, back and forth. A lot of travel takes place. A lot of Fijians watching this tonight may never be at a treaty signing, may never see a diplomatic cable. What does this mean for ordinary Fijians?
Well, we've referred to our partnership in the last few years as a Vijay partnership, and then just recently with Prime Minister Albanese here with the Honourable Prime Minister Rambuka, we signed the Vijay Union. And what that really was just a commitment from both Fiji and Australia to work with each other across the board. So it means we're committed to working together in the government space, in security, including addressing transnational crime. I know a lot of people are worried about drugs at the moment, on health, Fiji and Australia as partners in the region, but also sort of highlighting and making the most of what you mentioned, which is the very special connections between Fiji and Australia. How many people from Fiji have been to Australia? How many Australians have been to Fiji? So when we talk about Fiji and Australia and the Vijay Union, it's not just, we're going to do this government arrangement. It's how do we make the most of our people-to-people links and our connections that way.
From your perspective, where do you think the relationship and the partnership is genuinely equal?
Well, I think particularly in the region, there's a great partnership on supporting the regional needs. So Fiji, obviously a hub in the Pacific, and a very important player in the Pacific politically and in terms of security. And so we see Fiji as a crucial partner that we can work with as we work to support security, stability and peace in the region. So we particularly value that. And I should also say, we've just signed these treaties. We can talk about them in more detail soon, but the obligations, commitments in the treaty, we're making commitments to each other. So we're making the same commitments to each other on how we work together and how we deal with issues. So that is very much a equal relationship enshrined in a treaty.
What are the mechanisms in place to ensure that there's no big brother attitude in a negative manner? You must have seen some people are saying Australia is trying to influence Fiji or the Pacific.
Yeah. I mean, I think we see our partnership as win-win. We want to work together in the region. We've got issues in the region right now that have to be dealt with collectively. And transnational crime, drugs, that's the definition of a challenge that you have to work together. Because no one country can do this. We've got criminals coming through the region, so everybody has to work together. So I think Australia enters into this with a idea of partnership and wanting to work with Fiji. I think we see great opportunities on the economic side. You mentioned tourism, but I'd love to see a lot more economic activity between our two countries, including exports from Fiji. I think there's lots of opportunities there. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for partnership. I'm a bit worried on the sporting side sometimes. That doesn't always feel equal when Fiji gets it over Australia, but there's...
As long as you're wearing a Fiji jersey or Drua jersey, you'll pass, you'll be okay. And no doubt Australia has a lot more expertise in handling some of these big issues that we are facing now as a country, and we'll talk about that later on in the program. Now, give some examples of some projects, scholarships and infrastructure development that Fijians can point to and say, that's the Vivale partnership.
Yeah. So first thing I should say, Vijay, is we've just signed the Vivale Union, and that comes with a work program that the Australian government's committed to. It's a 10-year work program. The first thing I should say is all the work we currently do is continuing. So there's an awful lot of work that lots of Fijians will probably have seen and won't necessarily know that it's an Australian-Fijian partnership. That all continues, be it the PALM scheme, be it work that we've been doing on skills, cooperation in health. That's both cooperation in how the health system works, but also in infrastructure, and then existing infrastructure in Fiji. So all the cooperation we've been doing, that continues, but under the Vivale Union, we've committed to a new 10-year work program. And it's a 10-year work program because that's how we plan, but there'll be future work programs after that. But there's some very exciting, important things in there. So I think a few that your viewers might be particularly interested in is the largest single commitment under the Vivale Union is cooperation on transnational crime. We've already worked with Fiji to support maritime surveillance capability and with the Fiji Navy on the patrol boats that are so important. But we'll make a further commitment to work together on transnational crime, including additional Australian Federal Police officers to work with Fiji, including infrastructure and border support for the Fiji Police. So I think they'll be important and very tangible. There'll be more work on health and including on HIV. This is an issue we have to address, but also support for what comes next with the CWM, because the government is planning what comes next for the CWM. And look, I know I've talked about a few sort of projecty things, but I also want to say something that's quite different about what we're trying to do with the Vivale Union is it's not just about, Australia's going to do this, Fiji's going to do this. It wants to help us build the community, the Fiji-Australia community. So there's opportunities under the Vivale Union to bring in faith groups, to bring in cultural groups, so that we can make the most of what Fiji-Australia is.
You've also, we've had great challenges in the past of having a Super Rugby franchise. First of all, the Fijian Drua men, and then now the women playing in the Super W competition just a few weeks ago, finishing off in the final again here in Ba. Just the importance of the support. I know a lot of money has been injected right from the beginning. World Rugby has announced that it will no longer be providing the support it was providing for the Drua franchise, and it raised a lot of concern on whether the Drua franchise will survive. But we know we've got good partners with Australia. What's the support so far from the beginning, and will it continue?
Yeah, well, I was over at the women's Super Rugby final in Bar a couple of weeks ago, and I saw how fantastic it is. It's great. And I think it's really significant and important for the region to have, that professional rugby pathway here in Fiji. So it's really significant. Since the Drua's inception, Australia's provided around 10 million Australian dollars in support for the Drua. Under the Vijay Union, we've announced an additional $35 million for support for sports partnerships, particularly rugby, and some of that specifically going to the union to the Drua. Also, we're very excited. We've got the Rugby World Cup coming up in Australia. I'm not feeling too confident about the Australian team, but we're really excited to have the Rugby World Cup in Australia. So we'll be announcing some more work to support pathways to the Rugby World Cup as well.
So the Flying Fijians are likely to get some support too through this?
Yeah, look, I think we want to make sure that there's great participation from the region. So we're talking to Rugby Australia and others about how we work with the region to make that tournament the best possible tournament it can be.
Hi, Commissioner, I know you talked to us about the Vijay Union. It's come off the Vijay partnerships to the Vijay Union signed in July. What has actually changed?
It's a good question. Look, what in a way, it's formalised our commitment to each other. So we had the Vijay partnership, a lot of work happening under the Vijay partnership. But what we've done with the Vijay Union is it's a treaty. So our governments have signed it. It has to pass both of our parliaments. And this means in the Australian system, our whole cabinet has sat down and talked about the relationship with Fiji. And, each area of our cabinet has said, right, we can work with Fiji in this area, we can work in this area. So the Vijay Union is a hard commitment to that cooperation. As a public servant, I'm a public servant, as a High Commissioner, as a bureaucrat, having those sort of mechanisms is quite useful because you can lock yourself in to resources and to committing to work. And so, as I mentioned, we have this significant work plan under the Vijay Union. And my intention as High Commissioner here is, every 6 months or so to provide an update and say, well, this is what we've achieved in the last 6 months.
So the union talks about the Vijay Skills Hub and deeper workforce mobility pathways. Tell us what it will look like on the ground in the next 12 months or so.
Well, Australia ran a very popular skills program throughout the Pacific, the APTC. That's wound up, and we've now got a new partnership called Pacific Australia Skills. And Prime Minister Albanese, when he was here, opened the Vijay Schools Hub down in Walu Bay, where they're doing a range of work. But under the Vijay Union, we've committed to do more TVET. We'll do more TVET with Fiji, and there's a few particular areas that have been identified as priorities, areas in the construction, areas in maritime. Fiji has opportunities to do more in maritime industries. And so we'll be trying to build out the existing skills partnership to do more. And look, I think it's important to say with the work that's happened under the former scheme, the APTC, it's trained over 7,000 Fijians in TVET skills, and the vast majority of those people stay and work here. So it's skills for the local economy. And so we want to be really responsive and match the skills that we're providing to the skills needs.
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We'll be back after this break.
Every day, thousands of Fijians turn to one place to know what is happening, for the stories that matter, for the moments that bring us together, for the news you trust. Recognized by BBC Media Action Research as one of Fiji's most trusted news sources, that place is Fiji Village. And because Fiji keeps moving, so do we. We've listened to how you read, watch and listen. What you love, what you want more of, and what could simply be easier. And now the wait is over. The new Fiji Village website is now live. Built with you in mind, made smarter, made faster, made for the way you connect with us every day. No more searching for your favorite videos. Watch Now brings everything together in one place, ready when you are. Missed your favorite radio show? Head to Listen, your home for live radio, podcasts and audio content whenever it suits you. Sports fans can now get live scores faster with our new scoreboard feature. Need a story explained? Ask AI is there to help as well. And reading late into the night? Switch on dark mode and scroll in comfort. The same trusted news now with a smarter, easier experience built for you. Fiji Village, your trusted news provider.
Welcome back. You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. Our guest tonight is the Australian High Commissioner to Fiji, Peter Roberts, and we are happy to be here at his home for this special interview for you in relation to the Australia-Fiji relationship and what is happening with the Vuvale Union. The other one is the Veitadini Treaty. In plain terms, for viewers and listeners, Veitadini means, of course, brothers stand together in terms of tough times, good times. So, High Commissioner, what does this actually mean?
Yeah, it's a very significant development, but I've sort of explained it previously. In a way, it feels a bit of a paradox because what we have done is Fiji and Australia have signed an alliance. An alliance is actually the deepest commitment countries can make to each other, in that we're saying if Fiji is attacked, Australia would be there. If Australia was attacked, Fiji would be there if we face a threat like that. And why I say it's a bit of a paradox is it's a very significant commitment to make to each other in a treaty, but I also feel it's sort of a natural, it's what we'd expect from Fiji and Australia and how we view each other. And of course, Fiji and Australia have stood together previously in multiple peacekeeping operations, but also Fijian nationals or Fijians back from World War One, and of course in World War Two. So it feels natural for Fiji and Australia to do this, but it's also a great demonstration of our commitment to each other. So Australia will be Fiji's first ally. For Australia, our allies, the only other allies we have are New Zealand, the United States, and Papua New Guinea. So it really is a statement of where we see each other.
What does Fiji and Australia actually commit to under Article 6, which is a mutual defence?
So that is the provision in that treaty which says if one of the other parties, so that just is Fiji and Australia, there's a commitment between Fiji and Australia. If they're under a threat, under attack, then we will come to each other's aid, but of course in consultation with each other as well. So that's one of the key commitments. I think there's a couple of other key commitments in the treaty as well. One is mutual respect for democracy. So that's enshrined in the Veitadini Treaty. And also there's a provision that helps our military work together. So we have arrangements that we can work together. We actually already have this, and indeed Fiji, just a rotational company, 150 Fijian troops were just in Australia, just came back a couple of weeks ago doing exercises with Australia. This is now an annual thing. And
you're also providing a lot of support for our senior military officers going for advanced training there.
Yeah, there's lots of people have trained in Australia, and we have officers here as well. And what's really special about Fiji and Australia is we do have people embedded in each other's forces. So there's Fijian officers embedded within the system in Australia, contributing in Australia, and we have people here embedded in Fiji. So that's a great statement of trust in our partnership, and it's great cooperation.
And that's both military and police?
Yes, so we have currently 3-4 Australian Federal Police officers here, but under the Vijay Union we'll have more, and I do think there's more to do on transnational crime.
Now, people would be interested in this. We've had our fair share of coups here in Fiji, and it hasn't been good. It pushes the country backwards. The last one in 2006, Prime Minister was held hostage at his own home and was desperately calling and also called the Australian Prime Minister at the time. But Australia at the time did not want to intervene because they would say that they wouldn't want the blood of Australian and Fijians to be spilling on the streets of Suva. If there is a political takeover, a situation like that, does this Veitadini Treaty cover those kind of areas?
Well, there's a provision in here that we both commit to democratic processes. But as an alliance in general is when we're dealing with external threats. But I think it was Fiji and Australia were very keen to put that our partnership is pinned on some common values, including democracy.
Now, the Prime Minister, Sitiveni Rabuka, Fiji's Prime Minister, has said he doesn't expect severe pushback from China. And he insisted that the missile test that was conducted in the Pacific just hours after the signing of the Vijay Union and Veitadini Treaty isn't aimed in any one of the country. What is your reading of that? What is Australia's reading of what happened just hours after the signing?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak to the intent of China when sending that missile test, but obviously, the Veitadini Alliance, its other title is the Ocean of Peace Alliance. So we want to see an ocean of peace. So, of course, for us, we want the region to feel safe. We want the region to be able to deal with security issues in the Pacific way. So both the Vijay Union and Veitadini Alliance is about Australia and Fiji and what we can do together for the region and security, and we'll always be trying to support a prosperous and safe Pacific. And it picks up some of the themes. Pacific Island Forum leaders last year agreed at the Pacific Island Forum leaders meeting on the Blue Ocean of Peace Declaration, which was originally proposed by Honourable Prime Minister Rambuka. And that has a whole bunch of themes and concepts which we think are really important for Pacific security, including that we can deal with security issues in the Pacific way, and that we want to deal with security issues within the Pacific family. I've been very honoured actually to serve alongside Fijian peacekeepers when I was in Bougainville back in 2001, where we had a Pacific response to a Pacific security challenge. We've seen the same in Ramsey, in Solomon Islands, and I think we can say with the Ocean of Peace, Vijay Union, what we're saying is Australia is committed, and I think Fiji and many other Pacific islands are committed to dealing with security issues in the Pacific way, and we do want to see that ocean of peace.
Now, you would have heard comments. Some have said that some of these deals may be seen as countering China's influence in the Pacific. What do you have to say to that?
Well, I mean, I think Australia just wants to make sure that we're a great partner in the region. And we are in the Pacific. We're in the Pacific Islands Forum. We're committed to the region. We have a shared interest. We have a shared interest in the prosperity of the region. We have a shared interest in the security of the region. We're part of the region and we're friends. We get along with each other. So for Australia, this is about us being the best possible partner, and particularly as we face regional challenges. I think there's a lot of things we're talking about on cooperation that you need a regional response. So that's the standpoint we come from, and by signing these two treaties with Fiji, that's a demonstration from Australia of how important we see this partnership and our commitment to this partnership.
Let's go back to the issue of transnational crime. A lot has happened in the past few years. We've seen a number of very concerning major drug busts in Fiji. We've seen our waters where a lot of shipments are coming through. It has been said it's destined for Australia. And we've had many people on our show on Straight Talk, and the viewers know this. People have said that Australia should be doing more because these drugs are meant for the people in Australia. And now the spillover is occurring. Apart from the drugs, millions or billions of dollars of drugs being found, methamphetamine, cocaine, etc., we have the spillover now where the Fijian population are getting exposed to hard drugs. I know you've talked about your police officers, some of them embedded in the Fiji police force. Questions have been raised about some of our officers being compromised, which is affecting the proper investigations. Also, the maritime surveillance, we do not have the expertise or capacity to fully police our waters. Can you tell the people of Fiji what is being done by Australia? What changes through these partnership agreements signed now?
Yeah, well, look, first, I just have to agree that it's a very significant issue. And yes, it is linked to drugs moving through to Australia and New Zealand and the pathway of international drugs. So for a multitude of reasons, we want to partner with Fiji and other countries in the Pacific as well to address this issue. So we are, but we'll also be stepping up. We're working across the board to support this challenge we're all facing. So as I mentioned before, the biggest individual commitment under the Vijay Union of about 280 million Fijian is to support the response on drugs. And that will mean we can have more AFP working with the FPF. It will mean we can do more in support of maritime surveillance. So this year, Fiji and Australia co-hosted here in Fiji the first ever Pacific Police Ministers meeting. Bringing all the Pacific ministers of police together so that we can work together to address this. And an idea coming out of that will progress through is what can we do regionally, including on maritime surveillance. So Fiji has a wonderful facility in the Vijay Maritime Essential Services Centre. And there's other facilities in the Pacific, such as the Foreign Fisheries Agency. So are there opportunities for the region to join together? So Australia definitely stands ready to back in those systems to address that. We're also, of course, doing a lot of technical cooperation. So whenever there's a forensic support needed and testing needed, we're there. And I also want to say it's really important when we talk about drugs. Of course, we talk about catching the criminals, but there's also a social impact. So when we talk about working on health, a component of that is HIV. And HIV, the challenges of HIV also come related to the drug challenges we're facing. So we just don't want to say that this is just a policing, this is just a maritime issue. It's a societal issue. So we'll work through our health partnership. We're also supporting Fiji get a new border management system because drugs come in on planes as well. So we've announced with the Minister of Immigration support for a new border management system for their airports to use. So we're sort of committed to working right across the board on this issue, because it is a right across the board issue that we all need to work on. And it's not just police, it's not just boats, it's also, all of us in society and us as parents and us as community members.
Totally agree to that. We've got a big issue of Fiji not having a single fully facilitated drug rehab center. And the people who are affected by drugs, or the addicts, all crowding out the Fiji's only psychiatric hospital, St. Giles Hospital, which is bursting at its seams and in serious need of repair, and having proper facilities itself for, in terms of drug rehab center, etc. Are there any discussions that are being held between Australia and Fiji?
We've been talking about education and what support we can provide in the medical area. I think there's some work underway on a rehabilitation centre. I should say I've talked about this 10-year plan, and what's really good is it means we've locked in our resources. We have commitments in the Australian system on resources, and they're set against certain areas, and in some cases they're extremely specific. But we do know priorities change, so we do have the ability to work with Fiji on its priorities to make sure we're meeting what the greatest priorities are.
Go back to health, and interesting to note that you're doing some work in HIV. Fiji is one of the highest rates of HIV cases in the world based on recent statistics, and the serious rise is concerning everybody. What support is Australia providing for prevention, testing, and of course the needle syringe program that is expected to roll out? A lot of work is expected to be done in that area. We have a serious case of the indicators showing us that the new HIV cases, the increasing number of cases of HIV through injectable drugs. What is being done in that area?
Yeah. So we announced a while ago, I think it was around 15 million Fijian dollars to support the Fiji HIV HQ and the task force here. And that's a range of support. Some of it's consumables, physical equipment that you need for testing and so forth. And it's also the wraparound support. And under Vijay Union, we'll have more to say. We'll have more to say on this and our support. And on the needle issue, I know this is this can be a sensitive issue. So what we've done, which, it's not a huge amount of money, but I think it's hopefully very practical, is we've had Fijian practitioners, Fiji policymakers visit Australia and see what we're doing in Australia in this area, sharing our experiences. Australia wrestled with this issue as well. We have needle exchange programs and support like that. And so we're sharing our experiences and our policy approaches. And Fiji might find some of them useful, might say, well, we think, things would work in a different way in Fiji. But I think it's a really good example, actually, of what we talk about with Vijay, because it's not just about its projects, it's about sharing and exchange, and including because Fiji and Australia, we have quite similar, legal systems. We've sort of underpinned from a common sort of legal history. So there's actually lots of opportunities to exchange how we do things and see if how we've approached issues is useful for each other.
Now, High Commissioner, the other issue about the labour mobility schemes, with those expanding, of course, the risk of exploitation and trafficking also increases. What types of mechanisms has Australia put in place to ensure that Fijian workers are not exploited in Australia?
So the PALM scheme is very popular with Fijians and is very highly subscribed. We currently have about 5,000 Fijians working in Australia under the PALM scheme. I think last year that they sent back about $130 million in remittances over on average, well over $2,200 a month, Fijian dollars. Australia is committed to this scheme to protecting the workers in this scheme. So the first point is any workers under the PALM scheme have the same rights as Australian workers, same minimum wage. And there's now considerable compliance on employers. There's also support mechanisms in place, community liaison officers that the Fijian government and the Australian government support, and there's 24-hour helplines for workers, because we have to keep working and make sure that these schemes work. They're very popular. They're popular in Fiji because it's a economic opportunity and it's an opportunity to develop skills. They're popular in Australia because you have Fijians contributing to the Australian economy and making a very significant contribution. So it is a win-win in that regard, but you've got to make sure it works. And, unfortunately, this isn't PALM scheme specific. In lots of workplaces, in a range of workplaces, sometimes there is employers who don't act appropriately. So you have an Australian government now that's very committed to when there's evidence that an employer is not working appropriately, that there's action taken, that there's compliance. And there's also the wraparound support for the workers.
Let's talk about general elections. Fiji is in the election cycle now, and based on our parliament's term, we are expected to have the last date for elections for Fiji would be 6th February 2027. So we are in that cycle at the moment. We are in the official campaign period. Australia has played a very important role in the past in terms of financial, technical support, and also has led the multinational observer groups during the elections, which is very critical to have free and fair elections and to ensure we have independent observers watching the system that is at play. Have you had an approach already in relation to support for the upcoming general elections from Fiji?
Well, we've been talking to FEC, and we have an existing relationship with the Australian Electoral Commission has worked with FEC, the Fiji Electoral Commission, across elections, and we've been having preliminary discussions with the government because we have been one of the sort of significant partners in supporting the elections in the past. So I know we don't know when the election date is yet. Everybody's always speculating when election date is, but I'm sure we'll be in whatever forms appropriate supporting the elections in Fiji. It's such an important process.
So you're ready to provide the similar type of support in terms of financial, technical, and observers?
I think there's probably a range of potential partners as well, because when you have international observers, you might want to have people from a range of places. But yes, we're going to work with Fiji to support the election.
In terms of direct budget support, and you've over time you have announced a lot of direct budget support to the Fiji government, and there's always been questions about where is the money being spent and is it actually being used for the purpose it was given for. Recently, when it was announced there will be some support given in relation to the volatility of the fuel prices and the fuel situation at the moment, questions were being raised. Just asking about what are the accountability systems in place when you do place direct budget support for Fiji, and if you can give an example based on the upcoming budget.
Well, as you say, Australia has provided significant budget support to Fiji and some other countries over the last few years. In relation to some of the budget support we've provided to previously, we've done it in partnership with the Asian Development Bank and the World Bank, and there's a series of economic reform benchmarks that's connected to. So that's a conversation between those partners and the Fijian government. There was a specific announcement as we saw the pressures coming around fuel volatility. And when we discussed that with the Fijian government, of course, budget support is budget support. It goes into the budget. But it was at a stage when the Fijian government was bringing into place a range of support on the social side. And so when we had that conversation with the Fijian government, it was about providing support that can help those community-style, social, welfare-style supports for during this difficult sort of fuel crisis time. And look, I think it's very interesting during this fuel crisis because Fiji is a regional hub. Fiji's got an important role to play. A lot of the fuel for other countries comes through Fiji as well. So we also acknowledge how important Fiji's role as a regional hub is for fuel, and also interestingly how much how much food Fiji exports to the region. And as we looked at supply chains getting tighter during the fuel volatility, Fiji has got an important role in providing flour, for example, throughout the region. Flour, Australian wheat imported into Fiji, processed here. So, we know that Fiji's got a really important role to play as a regional hub.
And there's also part of negotiations when there's risks of fuel supply levels going low. Australia has also had discussions on behalf of Fiji as well.
That's right. I mean, well, the Honourable Minister for Foreign Affairs, Minister Dutoko, went to Singapore. And I remember he made representations there. Australia has been, particularly early on, has been talking to fuel suppliers. And when we talk to fuel suppliers, we always speak about the Pacific, the needs of the Pacific. Look, at the moment, it feels more like a price issue rather than a direct supply issue. But, we know how important connectivity and supply chains are. COVID taught us a lot of things. And during COVID, Australia helped continue flights into the Pacific. And we know how important supply chains are right throughout the Pacific. So that's when I say Fiji's a regional hub. It's got a really important role to play in that capacity.
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We'll be back after this break.
Bulla Fiji villagers, we've had a bit of a glow up and we know some of you are probably wondering, hey wait, where did the videos go? Don't worry, we didn't hide them. The video section has a brand new name and it's now called Watch. That means all your favorite videos and shows are now in one place and easier to find. Want your Fiji Village Straight Talk with Vijay and Narayan? It's there. Looking for Trending Amo Vengu? It's there too. Latest videos? Yep, all there. Don't miss the Watch section on Fiji Village, your trusted news provider for the latest videos, stories, and shows all in one place. Go and have a look and tell us what you're watching first.
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. Our guest tonight is the Australian High Commissioner to Fiji, Peter Roberts. Now, High Commissioner, the Commerce and Employees Federation CEO for Fiji, Edward Bernard, appeared on Straight Talk, and he made a few comments, and this was in relation to the report that they released in relation to the skills gap in Fiji. He said that the PALM scheme is, in his words, a documented driver of Fiji's skills loss. What's your response to that?
Well, we want to support Fiji having the right skills for the Fijian economy. So I think with both our skills work and PALM, our approach is to not limit the opportunities including, that a lot of people value the opportunity to go to Australia to work under PALM, but to expand the skills pie as well. So everybody who goes to PALM has to come back, and I hope they come back with new skills that contribute to the Fijian economy, not just that they've sent back the remittances, but our skills work in country is to support the skills development that Fiji needs as well. So we've talked about the Vijay Skills Hub, and under the Vijay Union, they'll be expanded to provide more training. And look, I think on PALM, it's a scheme that we run in concert with the Fijian government, with the Ministry of Employment. So it is a decision and calculation that the Fijian government can make in how many places it wants to fill, and we can work with Fiji and all of our partners to support a program that supports Fiji. So I know the individual workers obviously get an opportunity to have those jobs. Families and the economy get the remittances. Hopefully, there's skills brought back, but we're always ready to tailor the program if there's any concerns. We're also committed to broader skills as well. So we have the Australia Awards scholarship scheme. That's sending Fijians to study in Australia at tertiary level, university level, but also is now supporting study in Fiji. So we have quite a few students right now supported by Australia Awards at FNU. So we want to keep supporting that skills pathway, and particularly with the Australia Awards, we target skills areas that are important for Fiji. So we hope that as a package, that's helping develop the skills that Fiji needs.
Through the PALM scheme, when the workers come back, because they're exposed to a different way of working at a workplace, at the Australian standard, is there a reintegration program when they come back?
Yeah, so we work with the Ministry of Employment and other partners to support training, and there's training before you go, and now there's opportunity. We're trying to involve families in training as well. And, we really want to support PALM workers when they come back to utilise some of the skills they have, be it to become small business people or find other employment. So there is that opportunity. But I think, look, it's always a conversation of what more can we do to support making the most out of this scheme, because it is very popular. It does contribute a lot, but we've got to make sure that it's always working the best as possible. And so we're always ready to work on how we manage it.
In terms of the skills gap report for Fiji, you see 93 skills that there's a real shortage in, starting off with number one being chefs, and then electricians, accountants, and the list goes on. When you're looking at things like the Vijay Skills Hub, is it looking at that and trying to fill the needs through those skills gaps list that has been exposed?
Definitely. So we worked with government and others on skills gaps. So a lot of those skills are already covered in our work, but we have a few emerging priorities as well. So you'll see us doing a lot more support on the digital side as well. As part of the Vijay Union, there's a commitment to support Fiji in its digitalisation work, and so there's support. There's going to be support for skills under there. And I think I mentioned before maritime. There's great opportunities in Fiji as a maritime hub. So there'll be additional support there. I hope there's some existing providers here as well. So as a general rule, we want to partner with Fijian institutions. So yes, we want to tailor the skills that are needed. Our skills program is about skills that make sense in Fiji. So it's not a program to target going to Australia. The vast majority of people who go through our skills program stay. So it's about the skills that are needed in Fiji.
Let's look at social cost and economic data. We talked about the remittances coming in, etc. There's also concern, as in the past few years, about a lot of families or younger people staying back here with mainly their grandparents, and either only the father goes or the father and mother have gone, or both gone overseas for work, and that has affected the situation at home and has resulted in family breakdowns. I'm sure you have heard about this. You've seen some statistics. Is that concerning you?
Yeah, look, I think it's a significant decision to go and work overseas or to go and work away from your family. I had a personal experience where I worked away from my family for a significant period of time, and it's a very significant decision to make, and people weigh up that difficult decision. What we're trying to do is to provide the best possible supports that we can. So there's a pilot program at the moment which Fiji is participating in, where families are accompanying workers under the PALM scheme. That's a pilot scheme at the moment, and you'll see with our training and preparations, we're trying to involve families more in those sort of processes. And then we have the support mechanisms like the liaison officers and the helplines. But yes, it is a big, significant decision to work away from your family that people weigh up in the other benefits they can get. But we're committed to doing what we can to make the scheme work the best, not just for the employees, right, but for the community and those around them, and make sure that benefits are felt across the community.
The other issue is, it's been said in some villages, able-bodied men, majority of them have gone, and the villages are struggling. What are your reflections on that? These are realities on the ground, based on people. We know that, and people watching this show will say it's an individual decision. They're going to make more money for their families, etc., but the social cost attached to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a balance that everybody has to find. There's definitely opportunities, but you also have to balance that with your communities, and then we just have to make the scheme work as well as possible as well. And I know the Fiji government's been active in saying you've got to make sure you're contributing back. The figures suggest that people are sending a lot of remittances back. Hopefully, as returnees, they bring skills back as well. But also, we've got to keep working like we do with the Ministry of Employment to provide the right training, the right support to make this scheme work as best as possible. I was involved in this scheme previously when I was ambassador in Timor-Leste, and I can see, every year I feel that we're working more to address these sort of issues, to have it as holistic as possible. So it's not just about somebody going and working in Australia, but it's about how do we prepare them, how do they reintegrate, how their families, what sort of support is providing, what training is provided to the families, how do they make use of their skills when they get back. So it's a hugely popular scheme here in Fiji, and I think it's one that we just have to keep making sure that we make it work the best it can.
Let's talk about health. You've alluded to a few things there. One being CWM Hospital. It's a desperate need of urgent repair works and cannot keep up with the rising demand. Of course, government has already announced of a new hospital that has to be built. You cannot just continue to renovate or extend at CWM based on the facility itself. But at the same time, the challenges of doctors and nurses leaving, acute shortage of medicine required by the people of Fiji, and at times just unable to get that because they cannot find that medicine anywhere. What are some of the support systems in place?
Yeah. So on CWM itself, we're providing some immediate support on some immediate repairs. And that includes some roofing, some drainage work, sewerage work to address some immediate needs. And so that work's been ongoing. It's probably coming. The first phase of that's probably going to be finished towards the end of the year. Off the top of my head, I think it's about a $15 million commitment to do those sort of immediate sort of repair work. But you're right, it's a big decision on what to do next. So we were really pleased to be able to partner with the government to support a clinical services plan, which sort of it looks at what's needed for Fiji, and also a master plan for what is the next national referral hospital solution, and we know it's really important. So we are committed to working with the government on, once it's working through the options on what to do with the hospital. And look, we're committed to be there, and we're going to encourage others to work with Fiji on that as well.
In terms of other areas like medicine shortages and medicine supply?
Yeah, so, I mean, you're really right. Too often we just speak about the infrastructure, because you can see it and you can feel it. But we work with the Ministry of Health on the sort of wraparound approach so that we get to support the systems, to get the systems in place. So we have a health team that works with the Ministry of Health to support those systems. I should also say, it's not all about Suva, of course. So I'm really looking forward to soon I'll be joining the Minister of Health as we're going to Kandavu, as we've supported some upgrades to the hospital in Kandavu. And last year I was at Taviuni as we're doing some work with the Ministry of Health in upgrading the hospital there. So we know it's not just all about Suva.
Great news that you're doing things outside Suva as well. Now, this question comes up every time Fiji-Australia meet in relation to visa-free travel to Australia. You know that discussions have been held. Where is it at the moment?
Australia has what you call a universal visa system. So every country anybody who comes from Australia needs to have a visa, so for all countries. But what we have committed to do under the Vijay Union, and this is we'll have regulatory changes. So the treaty will come in force hopefully end of this year, and then we'll have to do the physical regulatory changes. But we are making visas longer and easier for people. So we'll extend the time people are able to stay on a visitor visa. And I think really importantly, for business visas, there'll be an opportunity to apply for multiple entry visas of up to 5 years, which, because I think we want to see more movement between Fiji and Australia and Fiji. We'll also do some work on visa applications. Visa application times have come right down, but we'll do more work so that if you don't have to keep putting in the same information all the time if you've previously had a visa. So there'll be some improvements to the system there. But look, people do talk to me about this a bit, but they all, we also have people saying, well, there's a challenge with brain drain as well. So again, what we're trying to do, particularly under the Vijay Union, is to increase the circular mobility. We want Fijians to be able to go to Australia and come back easier and for longer. We want Australians to be able to come to Fiji and go back. We want people to be able to use their skills in both countries. And I think there's more work to do on that. I'd love to see more Australian business people coming over to Fiji and more Australian people bringing their skills. So I think there's more to do there, but there will be updates to the visa processes under the Vijay Union, which will increase those lengths of the visas.
So I'll just, because a lot of questions come in relation to this, because people are asking, is there a possibility in the future, because we've got labor mobility, we've got defense cooperation, we've got a mutual defense alliance now, and we still do not have that courtesy of having that ease of traveling to Australia. That's what people are saying. Despite the repeated requests by the Fijian government, it hasn't really changed. Is it a security concern, an overstay concern? What seems to be the issue?
Well, I think, as I mentioned before, we have a universal visa system. So everybody who goes to Australia has to get a visa. But what we are trying to do is to make that as, easy and as useful and as practical as possible.
High Commissioner, thank you very much for speaking directly to the people of Fiji in relation to what is happening and in terms of the Australia-Fiji relationship. We greatly appreciate your very frank answers in relation to the questions. The questions, mainly the issues which have always been sent to us in terms of Australia-Fiji relationship and any major announcements that have been made. We greatly appreciate that you took out your precious time to speak to our people directly. And as he said, that as the Vuvale Union and the Ocean of Alliance Veitadini Treaty continues to progress, we expect him to be back on the show, on Straight Talk, to talk about the successes or challenges of it and how things are happening on the ground. That's the show for tonight. Until the next fortnight, have a great evening.